Hey guys, it's Jo. I'm here with my friend Molly. She is here to share with us today her story of surviving domestic violence, and now she also works as a victim's advocate for the Sheriff's Department. So Molly, I wanted to ask you today if you want to just start by kind of just sharing your story and how domestic violence started for you. Like, how did you meet your abuser and how did that relationship evolve?
So we met when I was 16. I worked at Sonic. And he came strolling through like he owned it. Like the best looking mistake I ever made.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
It works.
It was a very fast-paced, quick relationship. I got pregnant very soon after meeting, after I was told he could not have children. So I was pregnant the very first time the abuse happened. He got upset because I had put a different type of mustard on his sandwich than the normal kind of mustard that he liked. So as he was heating up and I could tell it was gonna become more than what I was comfortable with, I tried to go around the edge of the table and out the front door, and he was much faster than I was and slammed the door on my arm. So it cut the door right here, so the elbow, the door hit across right here. And his mom and sister pulled me to the side a couple days after it when we were at her house asking if he had done it on purpose, which should have been an initial red flag for me. I guess looking back now, I'm like, why would you ask me that? Why would you even think that was a thing? I lied and said, no, absolutely not. That would never happen. Why would he ever do that?
Yeah, which is the most common thing in the world for anyone who survived domestic violence.
Especially being 17 at the time.
Yeah.
I was a baby. Had no idea what was going on.
You said that happened pretty quickly. So the first incident happened pretty quickly and escalated pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
And you told me you guys moved in together and moved away, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of isolated you, is that correct to say?
That is very, 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 very true. We met, and within about 3 months,
Okay.
I had quit high school and decided I was going to be with the man of my dreams.
Yeah.
And he was going to take care of me, and that's
Cinderella story at 16.
Yeah.
Like, what 16-year-old doesn't want that?
Who doesn't want that to happen? And then the first physical abuse was at 17 while I was pregnant.
Okay.
And escalated extremely quickly from there on out.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had your daughter when you were 18,
Yes.
right? And you guys were living together at that point.
Yeah, we lived in what the only way I can describe it is an old like RV type thing. It was this little trailer that you could hook up, not little, but it was a trailer you could hook up to the back of a vehicle and drive. Like if you were vacationing, what you would see people take on vacation, like that's just kind of what we lived in. They had made it stationary, they had built a porch around it and everything, but it was out in the country. There were dirt roads, and I had no cell phone, no house phone, no cable, completely secluded from the outside world at that time. He killed my kitten, which was really hard because it was a baby kitten, and he was upset with me, and he killed her, and then he would always say his truck was broken down, so he always had to take my car. So I was always stuck out in the middle of nowhere with a brand new baby and no phone, no nothing. Like no neighbors for anywhere that I could see. Like we were just out in the middle of the country. Not only would he do that, but he would take the keys to his truck too. So it's not even like if anything happened, I could try to get his truck to work.
So you had a broken truck.
I had a broken truck with no keys, and he took my car. And so I was stuck out there for hours and hours and hours from early morning to late at night with nothing except for me and a newborn baby, and I was barely 18.
That's insane.
Yep.
And honestly really common for patterns of abusers. I mean, you get someone who's susceptible to being wooed by someone, give them a fantasy story and isolate them and get them alone and take over their lives.
Absolutely. And they're so good at it too. They get you and they fill your head with sugar plums and dreams of what life's going to be, and then it's not
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's
Yeah.
not sugar plums. I got no fairies. I got no anything sweet.
Yeah.
No.
Now, you did move from there eventually and go to school.
I did. I begged and begged and begged to let me go to college because I had finished my GED. I completed that after I dropped out of high school. I went ahead and did my GED and did fine, and I really, really wanted to go to college. I wanted to go make a difference in the world and do something, be a productive member of society. I got accepted to one college with a full ride scholarship, but it was a few hours away from where we were living, and he did not allow me to go. So I turned down the scholarship, which was really hard to do.
Yeah.
And chose another college and went with a partial scholarship and went for biology.
Okay.
So I was a biology major in college.
How did that go? Because I know a lot of abusers are really threatened as soon as you try to better yourself in any way.
So he was very manipulative. Like I don't even know how the best way to describe it. What it is while he didn't want me to better myself, he would always try and say, "Oh, you should go get a job, and this would be wonderful. But as soon as you do, then there's 5,000 reasons why I can't go to work, or I can't do this and I can't do that." Okay, so college was the same way for him. He was like, "Oh, you go to college, it's wonderful, but you can't go to college 2 hours away. We can't afford that. Where would you stay?"
Yeah.
So of course I'm like, "Oh, well, I feel really bad.
Yeah.
You know, I can't make him leave where he's at.
Yeah.
So I'll go to a college closer."
So he let you
go
to school.
Go to school. But it was always hard because it was that constant battle of when it did get violent and physical, of having to hide the bruises and having to say, "Oh, I can't make it into school today. I can't do this. I can't do that." So it was a constant battle through college, a constant battle of what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about, I think the last semester of college when you got a text from a guy at school, and that's when things, I mean, obviously not the worst, but that's when.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
Yeah. So, when I decided to leave was an incident. I was in an infectious diseases class, and I was in a group project, and one of the members in my group was a male, and I knew it was initially going to be an issue because that means he would have to text me or call, or we would have to communicate on a one-to-one basis, which is never a good thing. I always avoided having anything to do with other men because it just would never work well. Well, he being asked about a citation for something that was due with our project, and I quickly turned my phone on silent because Rodney was in the room, and I was like, "Oh, I can't do this." And I replied very quickly stating I had the project done, I would bring everything to school, and I was watching the Red Sox game. So I was hoping to end the conversation. Done. Don't text me back. I'm busy. I can't. Whatever. And about 2 minutes later, my phone, I was on silent, but my phone had this mechanism on the side where if you got a message or something, if it was on silent, it would blink. And it had all these really cool lights that went around the side of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like this pattern of really cool, funky lights. I didn't think about that when I turned it on silent. I just clicked silent. So in my head, but when it started flashing, Rodney picked up the phone, and it was a picture of my partner and like his housemates. There was like 6 guys, and they were all in Red Sox attire, and they had this little sign on the top of the text message that said "Go Sox." And I knew it was over. Like, I knew it was going to be so bad. Just the look on his face was so scary. It was like what I call shark eyes.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, no emotion.
Yep.
Like, and his eyes were so dark brown anyways, but just nothing. They were completely void of anything at all. So I looked at Haley, my daughter, and told her to go to her room. So I knew what was about to happen. I didn't want her in the room. Yeah. And it got extremely violent. He cut my back. I've got scars on my back. And he put one knife in one hand and held the other to the other side and told me I should just kill myself and I wasn't good for anything. He smoked all the time, and previous to this he would put cigarettes out on my legs. So I've got burns from cigarette marks on my legs from him. And he proceeded to take me back to the back bedroom to have his sexual ways of whatever he wanted to do at the time. And he was always pretty violent when it came to that type of situation. And then he taped me, or he used red tape on my hands, and then after we were done in the bedroom, he drugged me out to the hallway and taped me around the edge of a large light fixture to where I could not get away, and continued to hit and choke, and when he would choke, he would just sit there with his eyes like as close to your face as possible. He'd just watch you. He would just watch you, watch your eyes, watch you start to pass out, and then he would let go, and then he would do it again, and he would let go. And he always said it's so he could watch the life leave and he could bring it back. So that was what
power
he did.
Over life,
that was his power. So he eventually stopped and he left. I don't know where he went that night, but he left the apartment, and my daughter came out and she got me a wet rag and brought it over to me and started wiping my face, and I couldn't untape my hands from the light fixture, so I had her go get some scissors, and she cut my hands free, and then she curled up in my lap and just told me she was going to protect me. And at the time, she was 5. So that was the last incident before I left. I left the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how much it had to take to leave someone like that, because that's a guy who's obviously capable of killing people.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's sitting there and saying I have power over your life as he's choking you.
Yeah.
I mean,
He told me that night that if he didn't kill me that night, the next time he would. And it just, you're kind of like, oh, I really shouldn't be here. Maybe I should leave. Looking back, it's one of those things where you really think, how in the world did I let it get this far? But you start at the beginning and you think about all the little things. You think about, well, he does pay for things. He makes sure we have a house. He makes sure we have food. He does all these things, and you, as a young child, you get brainwashed very quickly, and you just want them to love you, and you just want to be happy and be a family and all of these things. And I think, incident after incident, it progressively just got worse and worse. I mean, from the first time to the kitten, to the closet, to the car, to they continue to escalate.
Yes. Yeah, and he's the father of your child.
And he was, and I had a baby at 18, barely 18, just turned 18 and had her, and I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
What
and
am
he
I gonna
isolated
do?
you, and I think people don't get that. And it's easy to, I think for anyone who's experienced domestic violence and sexual assault, it's, of course, you go through all of that self-blame. I mean, usually, I think for years, I don't know what your experience was, but I mean, like, why didn't I see this? Like, why didn't I leave? Why wasn't my fault? But like, they control you. They break down your everything.
They make you believe that you need them. Yeah. And that's really what it is the only good things about me were things that he thought were good for the longest time. Knew exactly what he was doing. Come to find out, he had 2 previous wives that I did not know about, which is really weird to say. 1 long-term girlfriend, 1 ex-wife, and he's currently with another one right now, but I'm friends with, there's 5 of us in a group of friends that are all survivors of him. And it's this weird, sad, crazy friendship that we have because we have something in common that a lot of people will have no idea how crazy and demented he really is.
Yeah, truly. No one else is going to get that.
No, from the violence to the sexual aspects to just the manipulation, and it was very hard.
When the incident happened that you talked about with the text message and you decided it was time to leave, what actually happened for you to be able to leave?
Okay, so with the leaving aspect, I was being tutored in school, and my tutor was a male, and he was very, very, very concerned about the way I behaved sometimes. I think he knew something was wrong, but he didn't really understand why. And then right after that time happened with the hallway and the text message, I went to a tutor session, and it was right before Christmas, so it was still kind of cool, but it was in deep East Texas, so it wasn't that cool.
Oh yeah.
But what I had done is I had put this really cute scarf, like to try and hide the bruises on here, and then I had these really big sunglasses, and I had done tried to hide the bruises because I had finals coming up, and I had all of this going on, and I needed to be there, and I needed that study session. And I walked in, and my tutor asked what was wrong, because I sat down and I started pulling stuff out, and I didn't say hi, I didn't say, hey, how's it going? Because I'm a pretty bubbly person. Yeah. And he finally just looked at me. Like, he was just looking at me the whole time, and finally he was like, what's wrong? And I just started crying. At the table. I took my glasses off, and I just started bawling. Yeah. And I was like, I can't, he's gonna kill me. I can't do this anymore. And the poor look on his face was just like, what? Like, oh my gosh. So needless to say, I did not study that day. We just talked. I didn't study. He didn't make me study. Darn chemistry. Right? He just sat there with me, and he talked, and he listened, and I cried, and then we walked out of the upper library, and we walked down, and we sat by this pond. There were these 2 ponds at the college, and we sat on one of the docks at the ponds, and we talked. I skipped my next, I skipped A&P, I'm sorry. Totally skipped A&P, and we sat and talked. We talked for hours, and that's the first person I ever told
anything about
anything. Wow. Ever. I didn't tell my sister, I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell anybody. I told him, and I didn't even know him. I mean, I knew him, but I didn't know him, and it was a guy. Yeah. And it was just this release of all, I couldn't help it. Like, I think if it would have been anybody, I would have told that. I just don't think I could hold it in anymore. That was the very first person I ever told. So our next study session was 2 days later, because we had chemistry the day after that. So we went to that, and he just handed me this piece of paper. And it was a piece of paper of local resources, of where to go, who to contact, things, how to leave. Okay. And he gave me this sheet of paper that was folded up, and it didn't have his name on it, it didn't have handwriting on it, it was nothing. It was just these couple sheets of paper folded. He handed them to me, and I kind of looked at it briefly, and then I folded it really fast, and my heart was pounding, and I was like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have told. That's the first thing that went through my head. Terror. It's like, oh my God, I can't, oh my God. Somehow Rodney's gonna find out, and it's gonna be so bad. This is gonna be bad, I can't do this. Well, after planning and slowly moving things out of my house, I took like birth certificates. Oh yeah. Birth certificate, it's really about it. Some pictures, not many. I didn't take as many pictures as I would like, but I didn't have anywhere to put them. So there's the spot under the back of my trunk that would pop up, and I had speakers under there. And what I did is I unscrewed where the speakers went, and I put the files on the inside of the speakers and closed everything back up. Wow. Because I was terrified. I did not want him to find out I was trying to leave. No. So what I did is I called my mom right before spring break in the next semester of school, and I told my mom that I'm leaving. This is a bad situation. She came down and picked up my daughter. So what my mom did is she drove the 14 hours, stayed the night in a hotel. She didn't see me that day or that night. Stayed the night. She picked up Haley that morning that I decided to leave. We loaded everything I could fit in my little 2-door Saturn, which was just some clothes and some toys for Haley. She can't fit much in there. And I left, and she took Haley immediately to a different state. And I filed for every protection that I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I had police escorts, and I had protection orders. I had classes, or I had officers walking me from class to class on college campus. It was a crazy, so I bounced around for that semester.
Yeah.
Shelter to friends' houses. Yeah, it was a pretty crazy, hectic time.
Did you ever see him again, or when you left, did he
I did.
let you go, so to speak?
No.
Yeah,
I wish.
No. I know.
He wasn't allowed on school property
Okay.
at the college, but he would go and sit. There was this big street across from the parking lot, and on the other side there was extra parking, but no one ever used it because no one wanted to have to walk across the highway.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really hardly ever used except for big events. But he would go, and he drove this bright yellow lowrider truck with smoke, and he would just sit leaning against the hood of his truck, just waiting for me, and I wouldn't leave. You know, I would I would outlast him 9 times out of 10. I did have this. There were a couple security guards there that were, funnily enough, like one of them was an ex-Marine, and he was so sweet. He was such a nice guy. He would walk me to my car, and if Rodney was over the other side, he would walk across the street, and he would just go chat with him, and he would talk with him. So I would leave, and the cop would still be talking to him as I left, so I could escape. So whenever he was working, he was always really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was just a crazy time.
Yeah. Seriously. And I know you were able to divorce him. You didn't get any parental rights, right?
Nope. He got no parental rights. He has nothing. Nothing for her. He doesn't get to see her. He has nothing to do with her. He called her one time in 2012.
Oh.
Which was out of the blue, because my phone number's never changed. It's been the same.
Okay.
It's been the same since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Same phone number. So my number's been the same for 17. Yeah. Long time. 16 years. So it's always been the same. So he called in 2012 and was explaining to her. I did let him talk to her. He was telling her how his new house, he had made this room for her so she could come stay, and all of it. And she hasn't spoken to him in years, right? Years. And then he's like, well, I painted it pink, and it's got all these things in it. And she got off the phone. She quickly got off the phone, and she was crying. And I just kind of asked, I said, well, what's wrong? And she's like, he doesn't even know me. I hate pink, because her favorite color is blue. It's always been blue. She's never liked pinks. Like, even as a kid, she never, like a little kid, she
even
never
then,
liked
like
pink.
when he did know.
No, when he knew her, she hated pink. She never liked pink. She always liked blue and green. So, and I felt so bad. And I said, well, he just has, his priorities are off. And because I make a point not to talk bad.
It's gotta be hard to do.
Because I feel like I don't want to jade her when it comes to life. I will never lie to her, but I will never talk bad.
Yes.
Like, I don't say he's a crazy butt.
Yeah.
Because even though I want to, I'm not going to do that. His priorities are off. He needs help. And that's the best I can do, because I feel like that makes me a better person.
Yes, it does. That's a huge thing to be able to do, really.
Yes. So I feel like it's a very important thing to do with her. Because she suffers enough knowing the things that have happened that she remembers.
Okay, and that makes sense.
Yeah, a few years ago I spoke to a group of other survivors, and I had written my story out, which I don't normally do. Yeah. Normally I just kind of talk, but I had written it. I had this, it's like a 4-sheet piece of paper that I was gonna read through bits and pieces, and she read it. I didn't know I had left it out, and she had read it, which was hard because there were things in there I never would have told her.
Yeah.
Like the sexual aspects of things, I never would have told her those things. There's some of the abuse I never would have told her about, because I don't think it's something she needs to hear at any point in her life. She doesn't need to know those exist. Like, especially that her mom dealt with it. Like, it's just not something I want. So she actually is very, very up to date on what I suffered, and I feel like it's it's important that I don't badmouth. I don't know. I feel like it's the right thing. She already knows enough. I don't want the emotional aspects of it.
Yes, that makes sense. She knows facts, and
she knows the facts, which is well more than any 15-year-old, 14-year-old should know. But I left it out. And she read it like it's a book.
Kids read things.
Yeah,
she
was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Now, I think the average number, and I'll double check this and I'll put a link in the description of the video, but I believe that the number that those suffering from domestic violence tend to go back to their abusers is 7 times. They leave and go back 7 times before they actually leave. And so it is incredibly common to stay with abusers, it's incredibly common to go back to them. Mm-hmm. It's just really, really, really hard to leave. And you were able to leave in an incredibly dangerous and abusive situation. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you would say to someone who is in the middle of that, or who has recently left, or is thinking about leaving?
So if you're thinking about leaving and you're in that situation, my thought is to plan. Yeah. For the love of everything holy in this world, do not just up one day and say, F you, I'm done. Because it's not safe. You have to be safe. You have to be smart. You have got to go to public libraries and look up things. Figure out where, don't do it on your phone. Don't do it on your home computer. Because those things are easily, even if you think you've turned off your history, there are ways to track your history on your phone. Your house computer can be linked. You don't even know. Yeah. Like, it's insane.
There are different places.
You just don't do it. Go to a public library where they can't trace you and look it up, figure out where you need to go. And I was incredibly embarrassed to tell anyone. Yeah. Like I said, both of my parents are correctional officers. I grew up with knowing bad people exist, knowing all of those things, and I still let it happen. And I don't feel bad, don't feel guilty, don't feel like you don't know. Don't feel like this is all you deserve, because you deserve more, and it should never, ever, ever be like that. Yeah. So just plan it, leave smart, leave safe. Don't go alone. If you're somewhere out after you leave, don't be by yourself, because he's gonna show up or she's gonna show up. You don't know. People are, when you mess with emotions, they get crazy. Like it's a whole nother world to them. And don't go by yourself. Yeah. Don't ever be by yourself. Always have a buddy system. Have someone with you. And you know what? Tell your friends. Tell them, they'll listen. My friends would have listened. They would have. My sister would have listened. She would have been there. My dad would have been there. My mom would have been there. They all will be there. Just listen to them.
Yeah. There are people who will support you.
Yeah. They'll listen. Shoot, strangers will listen. They will. They'll listen to you. They'll listen to you, and they'll help you more than you would ever think they would. Yeah. So
awesome. I think that's really good concrete advice to have a plan in place, because, like you said, that's such a insanely dangerous situation when you start messing with the emotions of incredibly unstable people.
Yeah. And they have a higher chance of attacking after you leave.
Yes.
So they will, because there's nothing to lose. Yes. At that point, they've already lost you in their mind. So there's no reason they won't kill you.
Yeah.
None.
So you have to be smart about it.
Yeah, be smart. Yeah. Smart and safe.
Well, Molly, thank you so much for being with me here today and talking to us about your experience. I think I speak for everyone when I say I'm so sorry for what you had to go through, but it's amazing to hear that you were able to leave that situation. I know so many people aren't, and that you're able to speak about leaving and empowering other people to do that, and that you're also helping the sheriff's office with administering to survivors and victims is incredible to hear. So thank you for doing that, for helping people in this area and also throughout the world. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see similar videos like this, you can find me on Facebook or YouTube under Trauma Talks. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.